Technology. It's advancing faster and taking less time to be widely adopted than ever before.
Launch AI.
AI is basically an emulation of us.
They're one very special person to me.
Autonomous driving started.
AI can give us that answer that we've been seeking all along. Are we alone?
Each time we create a more powerful technology, we create a bigger lever for changing the world.
Artificial intelligence can help us to feed the world population.
AI is teaching the machine and the machine becoming smart.
All out of the realm of sci-fi and magic, and now just science.
Ready?
We're at the dawn of a new age, the age of AI.
Good day everyone, I am Juana May Fiecas, and together with my partner Eliezer, we will be presenting R16, The Effects of Artificial Intelligence. As we all know, recent uptrends in artificial intelligence cause it to be the talk of the town, with several applications present such as ChatGPT, Google Bard, Bing AI, and image-generating AI softwares among others. There is no surprise that AI has made an impact and revolutionized how people get things done, from the simplest tasks to more difficult ones. However, along with this, there have been recent concerns about the unethical use of AI, such as students using ChatGPT for papers and other requirements, and people using AI in art, among others. With these issues in mind, as well as others we have not mentioned, what really is the ethics of artificial intelligence? Throughout this video, we will discuss what Nick Bostrom and Eliezer Yudkowsky's book, The Effects of Artificial Intelligence, says about this. With how advanced the world is today, it's not really surprising that it may utilize even more advanced techniques in programming, and researchers may even find newer domains for AI to penetrate. However, with the issues arising in the current era of AI, there is also no doubt that it may encounter further concerns with its development and use in the near future. Chapter 1, The Ethics of Machine Learning and Other Domain-Specific AI Algorithms, talks about these issues and discusses what should be considered to address these concerns. For everyone's background, let us first define machine learning, as this will be used in the first chapter. As defined by the International Business Machines Corporation or IBM, machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence or AI that is mainly focused on using data and algorithms to imitate the way that humans learn. Machine learning algorithms are commonly used in the following: A. Neural networks, B. Linear regression, and C. Logistic regression. Having defined these terms, let us now proceed to our discussion proper. First on the issue list is concerned with the transparency and auditability of artificial intelligence. AIs have been used in the decision-making processes of various fields such as business. An example of this that was mentioned in the book goes like this. Imagine a bank using machine learning algorithms to recommend mortgage applications for approval processes. But they were sued by a rejected applicant for alleged racial discrimination. The bank replies that this is impossible, as the algorithm they use is blinded or away from any biases with respect to the race of applicants, citing that this was the very reason why they implemented the algorithm or system in the first place. Still, statistics have shown that the bank's approval rate for black applicants was steadily dropping. What could possibly be happening in this situation? It would be frustrating to not know the reason behind the decision-making patterns of AI algorithms. The book then says that it would be impossible to understand why the machine learning algorithm behaves like this or decides this way if it is based on a complicated neural network or a genetic algorithm that is produced by directed evolution. Rather, it would be much more transparent if the machine algorithm was based on decision trees or Bayesian networks. For instance, using decision trees or Bayesian networks, auditors would be able to discover if the AI algorithm uses the address information of applicants who were born or who previously resided in poverty-stricken areas, and that this was the basis of the rejection. This is just one example of how AI plays an increasingly important role in society. Its development not only needs newer technologies and techniques, or it must not only be powerful and largely scalable, but it must also be transparent to inspection. Second, AIs daw must also be predictable to those they govern, especially when these algorithms take on social functions such as yung pakikipag-socialize and pakikipag-communicate with people in the community. The book provides this analogy for better understanding. The legal principle stare decisis binds judges to follow the past precedent whenever possible. So a past precedent is a previous action or decision that can be used for a similar action or decision in the future. This is done so that the legal system provides a predictable environment where citizens can optimize their own lives, such as mitigating risks or planning ahead of time. While this may seem incomprehensible, especially with the notion of binding the future developments to past developments, when the technology we have is always improving, this becomes an important consideration not only in legality, but also in AI. So, a paper titled Predictable Artificial Intelligence discusses that the predictability is the extent to which the behavioral indicators of present and future AI ecosystems can be anticipated. This characteristic allows AI to foster trust, liability, control, alignment, and safety, which they argue must be prioritized over performance. The essence now of developing a predictable AI is the possibility of having reliable methods that predict the properties of behaviors that matter. So these includes correctness, safety, fairness, energy consumption, and response time of various machines. Next, AI systems must also be incorruptible or robust against manipulation. As humans are deliberately searching for exploitable flaws in an algorithm, an easily targeted AI system can suffer from corruption or manipulations. For instance, a situation when this becomes crucial is the use of a machine system that scans airline luggage for bombs. If the system is easy to manipulate, it may not recognize a pistol or a bomb that is placed next to a neutralizing object. And lastly, there must be someone or something that assumes responsibility or accountability when an AI system fails at its assigned task. Howard, as cited in the book, says that established procedures often have distributed the responsibility so widely that no one person can be identified or blamed for the consequences, and this has become an apparent problem in today's assignment of responsibility or accountability in various fields such as AI. So these four that were previously mentioned are the criteria applied to humans performing social functions: transparency, auditability, predictability, incorruptibility, and responsibility. And with AI algorithms intending to replace human judgments in these social functions, such as yung approval processes in banks or security checks, it is important that the same criteria be applied and considered. That is, AI or machine learning must not only focus on the scale of their processes, but on AI's similarity in judgment to the actions or persons it intends to replace. Moving on, Chapter 2 titled Artificial General Intelligence outlines the challenges in ensuring that AI operates safely as it approaches humans in its intelligence. Sinabi na it was in 2012 that the age of artificial general intelligence started. In this era, a surge in popularization of common AI tools became apparent. Notable developments in this age include ChatGPT 3 and DALL-E by OpenAI, and Sophia, who is the first robot citizen. Moreover, even though AGI is a newer subfield of AI, it is already an emerging term to denote real AI. With these improvements, mayroong nagsasabi na AI has already beaten humans in many specific domains. There's the notion that as soon as AI researchers figure out how to do something, this capability begins to not be regarded as intelligent. An example of a domain where humans have been defeated by AIs is chess, which was the epitome of intelligence before. It was in 1977 that Deep Blue, an algorithm developed by IBM, beat the world chess champion Garry Kasparov in a publicized match. However, most modern AI professionals agree that AI still falls short of human capabilities in a critical sense. That is, there is still something missing from modern AIs, which is precisely what was added sa term na AGI. The missing characteristic is generality, or the generally applicable intelligence that can operate on a range of contexts, on unanticipated problems, and with preference over long-term or distant consequences of actions rather than focusing only on immediate responses. Tulad na nabanggit kanina, AI algorithms are usually programmed for competence in a single domain. With this, maihahalin tulad natin ang modern algorithms sa biological life, except for that of Homo sapiens. That is, Deep Blue can only perform in the chess domain, but does not know how to drive a car, in the same way that a bee can build a hive, but cannot build a dam. In short, the roles cannot be turned around. In contrast, humans are capable in many domains, thus the ability to learn how to do both. Still, the generality of human intelligence is questioned by many. Moving on, sinasabi na while the generality of AI is much desirable, it is qualitatively different to handle an AGI that operates across many contexts that cannot be predicted in advance, unlike domain-specific AIs. For instance, nuclear reactor engineers can anticipate specific events that could go wrong, such as failing valves, so they can take action immediately and make these non-catastrophic. Another example is a toaster, whose designer has envisioned the interplay between the bread and the toaster's heating element. While the designer knows its purpose, the toaster itself does not know that its goal is to make toast. It is not explicitly represented in computations in the machine. Because of this, if a cloth is placed in the toaster, it may catch on fire, since the toaster only executes in an envisioned context, which is the toast bread, with an envisioned side effect, which is the toasted bread. This scenario just tells us the difficulty in aiming for generality in AI systems. Since it only operates under a specific domain or purpose that it was intended to, it does not anticipate the unforeseen problems that may arise with the system's use, and it lacks the ability to change the response given a specific situation. But even so, task-specific AI algorithms throw us outside the toaster paradigm, which is a domain of locally pre-programmed specifically envisioned behavior. For instance, Deep Blue's programmers did not have to manually pre-program a database containing moves for every possible chess position that Deep Blue could encounter, as the possible moves are unmanageably large. Instead, what the programmers did is they sacrificed the ability to predict Deep Blue's local, specific game behavior, and are confident that the chess moves would satisfy a non-local criterion of optimality. That is, instead of deciding for a local or immediate response to a specific attack, Deep Blue considered the non-local criterion, or the link between how a move would lead the future of the game into the winning region as defined by chess rules. Thus, there must be a non-local specification of good behavior in a system so that it can operate safely across many contexts. This non-local specification means that the system can anticipate the distant consequences of actions, and not just the immediate responses to specific behaviors. This is specified as X, such that the consequence of X is not harmful to humans. However, this is only an effective specification, which means that this can only be part of a design property if the system itself explicitly anticipates the consequences of its behavior. For instance, sa toaster, if explicitly represented ang purpose niya through computations. If the system cannot do so, then it cannot have this design property. Moreover, constructing a trustworthy AGI requires it to think like a human engineer concerned about ethics, or they possess knowledge on ethical reasoning, and not just the system being a product of ethical engineering. Thus, the discipline of AI ethics, as applied to AGI, is different fundamentally from the ethical discipline of non-cognitive technologies, in the sense that the local specific behavior of AI may not be predictable apart from safety, even if programmers do everything right. Verifying the safety of the system is also a challenge, because it must be verified what the system is trying to do rather than verifying if the system is safely behaving in all contexts. And ethical cognition itself must be taken as a subject matter of engineering. Lastly, we turn to the discussion of machines with moral status. There is a different set of ethical issues that arise when we talk about the possibility that some future AI systems can be candidates for having moral status. According to Francis Cam, Object X has a moral status because X counts morally in its own right and is permissible or impermissible to do things for its own sake. For instance, a rock has no moral status, as we may crush or pulverize it without any concern for the rock itself. In contrast, a person counts in their own right, or they have intrinsic value and worth that must be recognized and upheld. Thus, it is impermissible to do things that violate a human's well-being or interests, or any moral side constraints, such as murder and theft, without their consent. In short, a person is treated as an end and has a moral status. It is widely agreed that current AI systems have no moral status. That is, we can change, copy, terminate, delete, or use computer programs as we please. However, in this discussion, our focus should be grounded on how the system is responsible for other beings. That is, we should evaluate how the system affects other beings, such as ensuring that it does not cause harm to others, rather than just focusing on the performance and quality of the system itself. The following two criteria are commonly linked to moral status. One is sentience, or the capacity for the phenomenal experience or qualia, which is to feel pain and suffer. And next is sapience, or the set of capacities associated with higher intelligence, such as yung self-awareness and being a reason-responsive agent. An animal who has qualia or sentience has some moral status, but human beings have both sentience and sapience, allowing them to possess a higher level of moral status. However, there are cases where marginal humans do not satisfy sapience, while there are animals who possess these elements. Because of these instances, some have divided opinions on whether a marginal human or if any other object can qualify as a bearer of moral status. This suggests that if an AI has moral status, then it has the capacity for qualia or to feel pain. A sentient AI system, even if lacking in language and higher cognitive faculties, is more like a living animal. It is wrong to inflict pain unless there is sufficient and strong reason to do so. If the AI system also has sentience like that of a human, then it would have full moral status equal to human beings. The following two principles explain more of this idea. Next is the principle of substrate non-discrimination. This states that if two beings have the same functionality and conscious experience and differ only in the substrate or medium of implementation, then they have the same moral status. This means that if an AI system and a human being exhibit the same function and conscious experience, then they have the same moral status, regardless of whether one is made of silicon-based technology or carbon-based matter. The same goes for whether the brain uses semiconductors or neurotransmitters. However, this does not mean that all objects that are different in substrate are morally equivalent. Rather, the substrate is only morally relevant if it impacts the sentience or functionality of the system or being. For instance, this does not mean that a digital computer could be conscious or have the same function as a human being. Rather, the principle emphasizes that if the computer and the human experiences are same in functionality, then the substrate they are implemented on will not be determining factors of their moral status. Next is the principle of ontogeny non-discrimination. This states that if two beings have the same functionality and same conscious experience, they have the same moral status, regardless of how they came into existence. The ontogeny of the beings or how they came into existence do not determine their moral status. However, there are instances where the being's ontogeny or its circumstances of creation affect or alter the being's moral status. For example, if procedures were performed during conception that caused a human fetus to develop without a brain, then the ontogeny or how it came into existence would now be relevant in assessing the moral status of the fetus. In such case, the second principle, where ontogeny is disregarded, does not apply, because the normal and anencephalic child now have different conscious experiences and functionality. It is now crucial to regard the ontogeny of the being. Moreover, to clarify, even though that this principle asserts that ontogeny has no essential bearing on moral status, it does not deny that ontogeny can affect what duties particular moral agents have toward the beings. Thus, creators or owners of AI systems have moral duties to their artificial minds, similar to that of parents having duties to their children. If the principles of non-discrimination with regard to substrate and ontogeny are accepted, many questions about how we ought to treat artificial minds can be answered by applying the same moral principles used to determine duties in familiar contexts. We ought to treat an artificial mind in the same way that we treat a qualitatively identical natural human mind in a similar situation. This simplifies the problem of developing an ethic for an artificial mind. Let us now move on as to how an AI is considered a mind with exotic properties. Humans typically attribute sentience and consciousness to those who display typical human behaviors, as well as possessing brains and cognitive structures similar to our own. In contrast, AIs may function differently from a human brain, yet still exhibit human-like behavior or traits associated with personhood. A non-sentient AI could be considered a sapient and a person without possessing consciousness or subjective experiences. This raises questions about the moral status of a non-sentient person compared to a sentient one, as sentience, or at least the capacity for it, is usually assumed in individuals considered persons. Additionally, another exotic property of AIs is its subjective experience of time that differs significantly from that of a biological human brain. This concept is best understood through whole brain emulation, also known as uploading. Uploading is a hypothetical future technology that involves transferring a human or animal intellect from its organic brain onto a digital computer. It has a theoretical process that is flashed on the screen. If successful, the computer program would replicate the essential functional characteristics of the original brain, enabling the uploaded intelligence to exist in a simulated virtual reality or control a robotic body in the physical world. The possibility of uploading human or animal intelligence onto a digital computer is speculative due to current technological limitations, though advancements in neuroscience and AI offer potential. Questions arise about the sentience and personal identity of the resulting program, or if the uploaded program continues the original individual's identity or forms a distinct entity. The possibility of duplicating uploads raises further inquiries into the individuality and the philosophical nature of identity and consciousness, particularly regarding the subjective experience of time. But let us focus more on an issue involving the notion of a subjective rate of time. If an upload were sentient and running on a faster computer, it would perceive the external world as moving slower. That said, subjective time extends beyond mere perception of time passage. Humans can misjudge time flow, mistaking one hour for another, especially under stimulant drugs. However, these instances involve distorted perception rather than a change in subjective time rate. Even drugs like cocaine, affecting brain function, likely do not alter neurological process speed significantly. They may induce rapid thought switching, perceiving less time spent on each thought, but not altering subjective time rate fundamentally. The variability of subjective time in artificial minds then raises ethical questions. For instance, how should we measure the duration of experiences? If an upload is sentenced to 4 years in prison, should it be in objective or subjective time? Similarly, if both an AI and a human experience pain, is it more urgent to alleviate the AI's pain due to its potentially longer subjective duration? This raises complex ethical considerations regarding the treatment of artificial minds and their subjective experiences. To illustrate this kind of ethical claim that might be relevant here, we formulate but do not argue for a principle privileging subjective time as a normatively more fundamental notion. In cases where the duration of an experience is of basic normative significance, it is the experience's subjective duration that counts. So far, we've explored two exotic possibilities, non-sentient sapiens and variable subjective rate of time, that are metaphysically problematic and lack clear parallels in the contemporary world. While these properties may not challenge foundational moral philosophy, they can still pose novel ethical challenges at the level of applied ethics or mid-level ethical principles. For example, since artificial minds can have superior memory or computational speed, it raises ethical concerns about privacy, autonomy, and fairness. How should society manage the data they collect? Should there be limits to prevent infringement on rights or manipulation of information? Similarly, enhanced artificial minds may raise questions about how to protect their well-being and rights if they experience emotions or sensations beyond human capacity. Should there be special regulations to address these differences? Moreover, the unique properties of AIs introduce a novel set of considerations when it comes to reproduction. AI reproduction differs significantly from human reproduction. Unlike genetic recombination and lengthy maturations in humans,
AI offspring may not inherit traits genetically or require gestation. They could inherit skills and knowledge directly from their progenitors and may not need traditional learning processes. Emotional adaptations related to human reproduction may also not apply to AI. Given these differences, mid-level moral principles governing human reproduction may need re-evaluation in the context of AI reproduction. Parental rights, responsibilities, and AI offspring welfare will require new ethical frameworks. Issues like consent, autonomy, and societal consequences need addressing for responsible development. To explain why, it will suffice to consider just one exotic property of AIs, their capacity for rapid reproduction. Unlike human reproduction, where offsprings require time to gestate and mature, AIs can duplicate themselves rapidly with access to computer hardware. Essentially, making a copy of an AI software results in an identical, fully matured entity capable of immediate reproduction. This could lead to exponential AI population growth with doubling times measured in minutes or hours, especially if hardware limitations are not a constraint. As AI populations grow exponentially, ethical concerns arise about managing their proliferation responsibly. Regulations must be implemented to prevent unchecked expansion and maintain control over AI expansion. Hence, ethical principles should guide decisions on creation, management, and regulation, ensuring responsible stewardship. Considering that current reproductive norms emphasize autonomy and societal intervention for children's basic needs, it can inform AI reproduction ethics. Well, let's imagine a scenario that illustrates the potential consequences of unrestricted reproduction among uploads, highlighting the collision between reproductive freedom and societal responsibility. In a society where uploads reproduce without restriction, an exponential population growth ensues. Despite societal intervention providing basic necessities for their sustenance, rapid proliferation strains resources. If the economy cannot support the growing population, uploads face the choice of resource depletion or reproductive control to manage the size. In contexts involving entities with unique abilities like rapid reproduction, our usual ethical principles may need adjustment. Ethical norms are often shaped by specific circumstances, and when dealing with futuristic scenarios or entities with exotic properties, flexibility is crucial. This does not imply moral relativism, but emphasizes the need to consider context in ethical application, especially with non-human conditions. And this ends with AI having the capability of what we call superintelligence. Good proposed the intelligence explosion hypothesis, suggesting that AI understanding its own design could lead to recursive self-improvement, exponentially increasing intelligence. This concept extends beyond AI to humans using technology like brain-computer interface. Once individuals can augment their intelligence, they naturally seek improvement, leading to iterative cycles of enhancement. Creating superintelligence could also involve boosting processing speed, enabling a human mind to think vastly faster without changing its size or software, like a year's worth in 31 seconds or a millennium in just over 8 hours. This concept is termed weak superintelligence, referring to a mind that thinks like a human but operates at a significantly faster pace. Moving on, 3 families of metaphors were introduced for visualizing the capability of a smarter-than-human AI. First is the metaphor inspired by differences of individual intelligence between humans, wherein AIs can patent inventions, publish research, trade stocks, or wield political influence. Another is the knowledge differences between past and present human civilizations, wherein past AIs will invent capabilities na nagagawa lang ng futurists ng like a century pa or a millennium pa nga in the future. And lastly, yung differences of brain architecture between humans and other biological organisms. This suggests that even if a dog's cognitive processes were accelerated, it would not necessarily gain the depth of insight that humans acquire over time. These metaphors imply that altering cognitive architecture could lead to insights beyond human reach, suggesting that AI or cognitive advancements might discover previously unattainable understandings and solutions. And even when considering historical metaphors, it reveals that superintelligence brings unusual ethical challenges, extending from individual injustices to global or cosmic consequences. including the potential replacement of humanity by entities we wouldn't value. Conversely, if directed beneficially, superintelligence could swiftly address many current problems beyond human capacity. Superintelligence is then one of the several existential risks as defined by Bostrom, a risk, quote-unquote, where an adverse outcome would either annihilate Earth-originating intelligent life or permanently and drastically curtail its potential. Conversely, a positive outcome for superintelligence could not only preserve Earth-originating intelligent life, but also enable it to fulfill its potential to a greater extent. Attempts to reason about global catastrophic risk may be susceptible to a number of cognitive biases, including the good story bias proposed by Bostrom. This suggests that our intuitions about future scenarios are heavily influenced by what we encounter in entertainment media. Since a significant portion of our exposure to discussions about the future occurs in a fictional and recreational context, our perceptions may be biased towards overestimating the probability of scenarios that make for compelling stories. Therefore, our intuitions about the future may be skewed towards scenarios that are more entertaining rather than those that are statistically more likely to occur. Indeed, truly desirable outcomes make poor movies. Hence, viewing AIs as a monolithic entity with fixed traits and asking if they'll be good or evil oversimplifies the diverse design space with artificial intelligence. Instead, discussions should address the unique characteristics, objectives, and ethical principles embedded in each AI system, rather than making blanket assumptions. Moreover, the questions of whether control over the initial programming of an AI can influence its later impact on the world is complex. Kurzweil suggests that intelligence is hard to control, implying AI could surpass human set limits. However, while an AI might rewrite itself unpredictably, its intentions aren't inherently hostile. Outcomes depend on design, values, and environment. Take the case of Mahatma Gandhi, a key figure in India's independence struggle, known for non-violent resistance. His commitment to non-violence illustrates stable utility functions within self-modifying minds. Gandhi's refusal to compromise his values, even under duress, highlights the enduring impact of initial mind design choices on behavior and values. Stable utility functions suggest that core value persists as AI evolves, influenced by initial programming, reinforcement learning, and environmental feedback. That said, there is a critical role of considering long-term consequences in AI design, as these choices profoundly shape behavior and impact. And in the current field of AI research, it's challenging to definitively translate the task of designing good AIs into a specific modern research direction. However, certain paradigms like Bayesian methods offer potential for creating intelligent self-modifying agents with predictable goals. In contrast, approaches such as evolutionary programming may introduce more randomness, making goal stability harder to ensure. This highlights the need for directional advice in present AI research, especially when considering the challenge of superintelligence in the future. However, even if we ensure an AI's goal system remains stable during self-modification, it merely touches the surface of the ethical challenges of superintelligence. Humans, as the first general intelligence, have already reshaped the planet significantly. We already manipulated ecosystems and affecting global climate patterns inadvertently. A superintelligence could have even more profound consequences given that it could revolutionize problem solving and innovation, but if its goals are not aligned or it misunderstands complex systems, it could cause harm. Moreover, the historical metaphor for superintelligence shows the ethical complexities of AI advancement. Just as civilizations evolve ethically, future societies may perceive issues differently. Practices once accepted, like slavery, are now condemned, and debates such as poverty evolve. Future generations may also critique our own standards, finding flaws. What's normal today might be deemed unethical tomorrow. The consideration of ethical history highlights the tragedy of creating a mind with fixed ethics that fail to evolve with society. Imagine if Archimedes had created an AI with a frozen moral code from ancient Greece. Such stagnation could harm both the AI and society. However, avoiding ethical stagnation in AI is also challenging. Introducing random instability is not sufficient as most changes would seem nonsensical or even harmful. This highlights the complexity of ensuring AI adapts its ethics with societal progress, requiring mechanisms for reasoned adaptation based on evolving values. This presents us with perhaps the ultimate challenge of machine ethics. How do you build an AI which, when it executes, becomes more ethical than you? Indeed, creating super ethics for AI is not akin to traditional ethical frameworks or solving it through randomness. Developers should aim for AI capable of autonomous guidance, addressing complex ethical dilemmas with principles of fairness, justice, and human values. The objective is AI that benefits society autonomously, contributing to well-being without constant guidance. The analogy of Archimedes constructing an AI with ethical reasoning stresses the importance of not aiming for a super version of our own ethics. Just as we would not want him to replicate his era's norms, AI should not blindly adopt our current standards. Overall, AI should discern moral progress within our ethics. By understanding the principles of ethical dilemmas, AI can recognize progress versus instability. That is all. Thank you.